Hello once again, photography fans. This is Robert Hamm with Robert Hamm Photography. Catch me over on Twitter at RobHammPhoto. You can find me on both Facebook and here on the YouTube at /Robert Hamm Photography. Today I thought I'd show you my workflow in editing batch photos. And this is pretty important because when you get into production work as a photographer, you'll recognize that often you can spend all of your time editing photos and less time shooting, and really what we want to do is get out there and improve our skills and shoot and make beautiful images more often than not. Even if you're just a hobbyist, understanding how a good workflow can improve your post-production can really make taking portraits and pictures more enjoyable, if for no other reason than you have access to a final image sooner. So this is a set of photos I took recently of a beautiful mother and son, and you can actually find this over on my website, roberthamphotography.com. Click on Client Galleries and then just look for the gallery that has these faces on top of it and you'll see it. What I've done here is I've gone ahead and selected about 160 images. You can see that up there I've got 164 images right on my film strip. Out of that, about 64, 65 images are what I'm actually working with. And in about 20 minutes, I have gone ahead and edited all these 64 images that I selected and made them ready for production, ready for print. Now, I've gone ahead and sped this video up 2 times, so that it just won't be a 20-minute long video. It's a 10-minute long video, and I think this tutorial suits 10 minutes, not 20 minutes. That's why I did that. I also went ahead and put up my computer monitoring panel right there. You can see it in the left-hand corner of my screen. I'm using the Microsoft Surface Pro 3. The device is the i7 with the 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabyte hard drive, and I just wanted to show the type of responses that I get. Now recognize that this is sped up, so it may appear faster than it actually is, but you'll notice if it's sped up 2 times that the device is extraordinarily responsive. And I'm editing multiple photos at one time, and you can see how this works. So now you've got the setup. If for some reason we look a little contrasty or orangey, I can't help that. I'm using the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus to record this video on, and how you may be viewing the images may create a little more contrast or oversaturation. So if you want to see the final images, once again, I urge you to go over to the website and check it out, and definitely before the end of this video, drop me a line down below and let me know what you think. Okay, so now that all the important stuff has gone away, 3 minutes into the video already, and we're going to start talking about this. When you batch edit, you really want to start off with a product that is good to begin with and consistent across the board. So when I think about photographing mothers and fathers and daughters and sons and families, I'm a family photographer, and that includes quite a bit of weddings. I'd say 80% of my business is just weddings as far as revenue generation, and the rest is in portraiture in order to reach out and kind of meet new clients and people and just be a part of the photographic community in that respect. So what will happen is that as you start photographing, you'll realize that when you're choosing a place for family portraits like this, and you've got a limited amount of time, you want to be able to provide as many looks as possible. So take a park, and you may have one particular focus that has a kind of shot that you would like to get. It could be a rock, it could be a fountain, it could be a playground, depending on what kind of photographic session you have. But more importantly, you want to have several different kinds of looks there. So it might be the focus is a particular rock, but then you've got some secondary shots that have a separate look from the rock. Then you have some shots in front of a tree line. Then you got some images that you're going to make over there in a little shadowy area by a brook. And then maybe there's a playground in this particular park where you can have some fun shots of the kids on the playground and swings. At that point in time, when you think of your location as providing multiple looks, you can then go into a situation where you have several different types of photographs that are all photographed in the same area. And that's if you if you are adjusting and careful and diligent with your photography, this will create an area that you can batch edit very easily, because you will have 5 or 6 photos in a relatively short amount of time, maybe 10 minutes, 8 minutes, with similar lighting conditions, assuming the sun didn't hide behind some clouds, that you can then edit together in a process all at one time. They're close enough in exposure and composure. Well, composure may not have as much to do with it, but they're definitely close enough in exposure that you can edit them together. And that's what you're seeing here. If you've been paying attention while I've been talking about this, you'll notice that there have been several different looks applied, maybe 15, 20 images in a particular series. Maybe it was, I shot pictures of the mother in full-length portraiture, the son in full-length portraiture, and then the mother and the son together in full-length portraiture. So that could be 20 images where I'm able to select all of them at one time and then batch them together, meaning select all of them and then select auto-synchronize with one another, and then edit one image to get a gross edit, and then kind of touch up the little ones as necessary. But when you're editing that way, you're able to edit groups of images at one time, and that's what you're seeing here. Some techniques that I use in order to edit my images are simply that I follow the development module. You'll notice I'm in the development module over there, and it starts off with a title called Basic. And the first thing that I do is I do a basic tone on everything. I don't usually mess too much with tone curve or anything like that unless it is something that needs it, but I work in the basic panel. I also work in my hue, saturation, and luminance panel. That's the third panel that you'll see. So it's basic, tone curve, hue, saturation, luminance. I don't mess too much with split toning. I do work in the detail panel. And finally, I also work in the lens correction panel and camera calibration panel. Now, I use some effects as well, but my point is, I work in that order. I work from top to bottom. I work basic, then I work hue, saturation, and luminance, and then I work detail and lens corrections. But the first thing I do that would be out of order to all of this is actually I use my camera calibration. And this is important. Let's say you're using some kind of photograph or equipment. Like I shoot mainly Fuji X-T1. I like that. And Fuji has some color profiles that they have worked with Adobe in order to have a managed color output. Well, because I'm using a managed color output and my screen is calibrated and my printers are calibrated, I want to make sure that I go and use the calibration that I want in the beginning. So I set the calibration usually between Astia for me or Velvia, but if you're Canon, you might choose the Vivid module, or if you're Nikon, there's some NIC software you might use. I don't know. You would want to set that first because that's going to do basically an initial color grade. It's not exactly a color grade, but it's going to apply those settings to everything. So I auto-sync everything so that my color calibration is the same, and then I begin and go ahead and edit the images starting in the basics. I usually will bring my highlights down and my shadows up. I will use the white clipping instead of exposure in order to gain additional stops of brightness because it does not introduce the same amount of noise. And then I move on from there. I use the hue, saturation, and luminance in order to help bring out those hidden colors. Finally, I add a little bit of noise reduction and a slight vignette, and then I'm done. Guys, in 10 minutes, we've come to the end of this video. I hope that it's been helpful for you right there. I hope that you've seen how the Microsoft Surface Pro 3 does a good job, and I hope that you've learned something. As always, I'd like to hear what you have to think. Sound off in the comments below. My name is Robert Hamm. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and right here on the interwebs. Thanks so much for watching.